I think that's the biggest thing. We had, we set up a lot of places, where we hand out poppies or we hand out literature about service dogs and answer questions for people. And we did that this weekend. And we had two people that came up, like, how do I get a service dog? I really want one. And I said, well, what is it you need the dog for? Well, I get anxious a lot and I just like to have something around to comfort me. Well, then you probably need an emotional support animal. You don't need a $35,000 dog. A service dog is a dog trained to intervene with a disability task, something that you need done, physically done, to help you navigate through life. And so I'd encourage people to look at, having an emotional support animal at home rather than get a service dog. And it's a great responsibility. So I say take a hard look at that, and also look at the cost involved, look at the emotional investment involved. We're together 24/7. We're never apart. So it's a big commitment. It's like having, in Gander's case, it's like having a 5-year-old with a 160 IQ with you all the time. So I encourage people. I want them to really look at it and say, maybe I don't need one. Maybe I need something else. And it needs to be also one of the things that a lot of agencies don't do is they don't provide a psychological component, to pairing you with the dogs. And I also make sure you have a really good support system, and places you can go when you get frustrated because people are hassling you because you have a service dog or because the dog's not doing exactly what you need it to do and that kind of thing. Make sure you've got people in the wings that can get you through that. It's not a magic bullet. I'll give you an example. They have a program in that we worked with for several years, and sometimes I think they're on hiatus right now, and it's called the Valor Program. And they would train veterans to train court case dogs to be better placed, with homes. And then some of the veterans actually ended up with the dogs as emotional support animals, where they've got something to come home to. They've got something, because a lot of them have been either, they've had PTSD or they've had drug and alcohol problems or whatever the issue is. They're not close to a lot of people anymore, and so now they have a companion, somebody to come home to, something to look after, something to think about besides themselves. And it provides that kind of comfort that they need. And those dogs are not specially trained. I mean, they may have good citizen training, and with the Valor Program, the dogs could sit, stay, roll over, do all kinds of things because they were trained to do that. But that dog has no special training, really. That dog's there just to be a comfort to you. And that dog can't go out in public. But if your doctor says you need to have it, you can have it for, in public housing and things like that. Service dog is specifically trained to do tasks to mediate your disability. Like in Gander's case, sometimes opening doors, sometimes turning on lights, sometimes, waking me up, blocking and bracing, sometimes being a brace for me when I'm, when I'm off balance, that kind of thing. So, and it's a whole different bag. And unfortunately, a lot of people fake both of those. They want their dog in a housing area, so they get a doctor to write a letter, or they put a service dog vest on a dog that's not trained, and that's the bane of our existence. Every problem we have in the world, every access problem we have, is because somebody ahead of us has abused the Americans with Disabilities Act regulations and pushed the limits. They've had dogs that we've had hotel owners tell us that they've done millions of dollars worth of damage, over the years, and they're afraid to do anything because they don't want to run afoul of the ADA or the Department of Justice. More and more companies are getting wise to that those are illegitimate. That chances are in 80 to 90% of the cases, if you have paperwork that registers or certifies your service dog, that it's probably not real. And now agencies like Gander's agency will give me a card, it's an ID card, but most of that I keep that with me, so in case something happens to me, they know who to contact, and they know the agency, and it's got an emergency contact and those kind of things. And it has ADA laws on the back that I can show to someone. But But really, I've been moving away from that, because what I don't want is businesses asking other people with disabilities, hey, show me something that, that proves he's a dog, because they can't legally do that. But we don't want to get into that either,
Yeah, it's kind of a catch-22.
Yeah.
There's fake
Yeah, right.
ID, and then the real people are punished.
Right.
Because in a restaurant, the previous so-called service dog was not behaving properly.
Exactly.
And making a very, very annoying situation for the owner and for the restaurant, and
You
the
bet.
patron in the restaurant also.
Sure. Yeah, and we talk about that a lot with people. We tell them how to identify fake dogs and that kind of thing. So, yeah, it's tough.